The T-90M Proryv, hailed as the world's finest tank, the apex of Russian armor. It advanced on Ukrainian defense lines near Shakove. Its mission: to redefine modern warfare. For months, this formidable weapon system was stockpiled, a strategic asset held in reserve by the army. On October 9th, the assault began. The battlefield's verdict was swift and unexpected. According to Ukraine's Ministry of Finance, the reality was stark. By October 14th, Russian tank losses had climbed to an astonishing 11,256 units, a staggering toll on their military. For months, the Kremlin dismissed every war analysis. They claimed only obsolete Soviet-era vehicles were lost, expendable assets meant to bleed Ukrainian weapons dry. They were not tools to win a war. The real armor, the advanced T-90Ms, remained in reserve. But in early October, after a year-long buildup, Moscow finally committed its elite troops and premier tanks to the Donetsk front. Confidence was absolute. These modern weapons were expected to succeed where all others had failed. The objective? The city of Pokrovsk, a critical logistical hub, the nerve center of eastern Ukraine's defense. Intelligence reports, cited by analyst David Axe, confirmed the operation's immense scale. The assault was months in the making. The Kremlin had reserved its T-90Ms for this one massive push, a focal point in this escalating global conflict. The goal was to shatter Ukraine's regional defense systems. The summer campaign had stalled. Infantry-centric tactics failed. Small units of troops attempted infiltration but could not hold ground. The October 9th offensive was designed as the definitive military solution, a mechanized assault unleashing the full power of modern armor, vehicles and elite soldiers unleashed. The high command was certain of victory. Back in June of 2023, state media amplified the boast: impenetrable protection. As soon as it approaches a position, the declaration stated, no chances are left for anyone. On October 9th, the October 9th offensive was designed as the definitive military solution, a mechanized assault unleashing the full power of modern armor, vehicles and elite soldiers unleashed. The high command was certain of victory. Back in June of 2023, state media amplified the boast. It wields a 125mm 2A46M4 smoothbore gun, firing standard shells and anti-tank guided missiles. Its range extends beyond 13,000 feet, pushing to 16,400 feet with guided munitions. The secondary armament includes a coaxial PKT, a 7.62mm machine gun for infantry engagement. Top speed, 37 miles per hour. Operational range, over 340 miles. The tank is agile for its massive size. It is sheathed in layers of advanced defense systems, centered on its relict explosive reactive armor, designed to neutralize incoming projectiles before impact. A QNet kit adds protection to the hull and rear against rocket-propelled grenades. On paper, the T-90M appears invincible. But the battle for Pokrovsk proved that in modern warfare, theory means nothing. Russia's plan was straightforward: a large-scale assault centered on the village of Shakove, 12 miles north of Pokrovsk. The strategy was simple: seize Shakove, fortify it, use it as a forward operating base for future military operations deep inside Ukrainian lines. For this task, Russia assembled a considerable force: 36 tanks, including multiple T-90Ms. Supported by armored fighting vehicles and 40 motorcycle-mounted troops, the operation depended on speed, coordination, and the shock effect of these modern weapons. A textbook Russian doctrine of mechanized warfare. But Ukraine was not unprepared. Shakove was defended by the 225th Assault Regiment, reinforced by elements of the 1st Azov Corps, the same formation that had retaken regional villages during the summer. Their defensive positions were meticulously prepared. These defenses were designed for one purpose: to break an armored assault, and that was only the beginning of this military update. The attack came in the pre-dawn darkness of October 9th. According to the Azov After Action report, the Russians came in waves. First, a vanguard of motorcycle troops, a sacrificial screen designed to draw fire and bleed Ukrainian ammunition. Behind them, the main assault. Columns of tanks and armored personnel carriers, ferrying infantry to smash the defense lines. It was a tactic torn from a Soviet-era manual of warfare. The assault collapsed before it even began. In minutes, Ukrainian drones, artillery, and pre-laid minefields tore the advancing military formations to pieces. The forward motorcycle troops were simply erased. The armored columns behind them ground to a halt, caught in a kill box of withering fire. Ukrainian observers relayed coordinates for precision artillery. Drone operators hunted vehicles from the sky. Within hours, at least 20 Russian vehicles were burning hulks on the field. The survivors scattered into the tree line. There, they were hunted through the night by Ukrainian bomber drones. By morning, the area was clear of enemy troops. The losses, according to Azov Corps figures, were staggering. The final tally for the Russian army: 3 tanks, 16 armored fighting vehicles, 41 motorcycles, and 2 light vehicles, all lost in a single day's engagement. The human cost was catastrophic: 107 confirmed killed, 51 wounded. The assault force was effectively annihilated. A stark war analysis from David Axe confirmed the outcome. Many of these soldiers were from Russia's elite Marines, redeployed to this sector. As they fell, 32 Ukrainian FPVs began their descent from layered altitudes. The supposedly invincible T-90Ms offered no protection. They became steel coffins, symbols of a failed gambit in modern warfare. These modern weapons were meant to be untouchable. Now, they were falling to mines, drones, and artillery. For months, this armor had been held in reserve, a strategic ace. On October 9th, that ace was played, and it was lost instantly. Ukraine's defense was more than a tactical victory. It was a public dismantling of the T-90M's reputation. For all its advanced defense technology, the tank remains a product of an obsolete design philosophy. Its weaknesses were about to be exposed to the world. The truth is now laid bare. The T-90M first entered production in 1994. Its core design is over 30 years old. Despite modern upgrades, it carries the structural DNA of the T-72, including its most fatal flaw: ammunition storage. Like its predecessors, the T-90M stores its rounds in an autoloader carousel directly beneath the crew. There are no blast partitions, no separation between the soldiers and the munitions. A direct hit that cooks off the ammo means a catastrophic detonation. It kills everyone inside. This is the infamous Jack-in-the-Box effect, a recurring nightmare seen throughout this war. 3 ammunition carriers vaporized in blinding flashes. The light cast long shadows against the ridge walls. And then, the silence that followed the strike, delivered by top attack weapons or loitering munitions. Until this war in Ukraine, the results of that test have been disastrous. Ukraine's arsenal, from Javelin missiles to FPV kamikaze drones, has been a brutal military update. It has exposed fatal weaknesses in Russia's defense systems, with one issue becoming infamous, dubbed spinning turret syndrome by Forbes in May 2024. It happens when a strike damages the turret ring, causing an uncontrollable rotation. The main gun is rendered completely useless. This flaw has been proven by multiple confirmed incidents on the battlefield. In January 2024, a T-90M was disabled by 2 M2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. These are platforms that, on paper, should not be able to penetrate the tank's armor. The cause of failure? The turret ring. Again in December 2023 and May 2024. Ukrainian FPV drones struck T-90. Missed the impact, triggered the same malfunction. The turret spun wildly. The crews abandoned their vehicles. This latest military news points to a larger truth. The T-90M's design is from a bygone era. It was not built for a battlefield like this. A battle space saturated with smart munitions and autonomous drones. Its protective systems, like Shtora and Relikt, were designed for older guided missiles. They were not designed to counter the precision of modern loitering threats. Yet publicly, Russia continues to market the T-90M as a masterpiece of military engineering. In May of 2025, a bold claim from Moscow's defense apparatus. Rostec's deputy CEO, Vladimir Artyakov, declared the T-90M, T-72B3M, and T-80BVM as the world's finest production tanks. But the intelligence on the ground told a different story. Alliances were fracturing, faith was eroding. India, once a key client for Russian armor, had signed a deal back in 2019. The contract was for nearly 470 T-90M tanks, a $2 billion investment in defense technology. But the problems began almost immediately. India's army documented critical failures in both reliability and performance. The ultimate humiliation unfolded in 2020 at Russia's own international tank biathlon. The Indian T-90S tanks failed repeatedly, resulting in their disqualification. By 2022, sources within Indian defense were looking west for alternative modern weapons. The French Leclerc was on their shortlist. Long before the T-90M's tracks churned the earth toward Shakove, its reputation was in tatters. The events of October 9th simply confirmed what every war analysis had forecast. The tank's defense technology is obsolete. Its systems are flawed. Its performance in modern warfare is a catastrophic failure. Yet Moscow continues to build them. A military update from United 24 Media in June reported Russia produced between 280 and 300 T-90Ms in 2024, a significant ramp-up from 2022. That year, only 60 to 70 units rolled off the line. This surge, however, cannot compensate for the staggering losses. Over 11,000 tanks wiped from the order of battle. The replacement rate is grim. For every 10 tanks lost, only one new one is built. Still, the Kremlin is locked on maintaining the illusion of military strength. The propaganda that built up the T-90M before the war now justifies its relentless production. It is framed by Moscow as a sign of resilience. Proof, they claim, that the war effort can be sustained, regardless of the mounting cost in troops and materiel. But on the battlefield, Ukrainian soldiers have proven that narrative false, time and time again. A fresh coat of paint and new sensors cannot conceal the reality of antiquated engineering. On October 9th, the myth of the T-90M met the brutal truth of Ukrainian firepower. In a single day, a force that took more than a year to assemble was annihilated. These were supposed to be advanced defense systems. These weapons, built to dominate, were reduced to twisted scrap. Burning wrecks scarred the fields. Experienced troops, trained for mechanized warfare, were neutralized or forced into a full retreat. For Moscow, the lesson is clear but politically toxic. Technology built upon Soviet foundations cannot compete in 21st century warfare. This new era of global conflict is dominated by drones, precision munitions, and integrated reconnaissance. The T-90M was intended to be a symbol of Russia's modernization, a sign that Moscow could still produce world-class weapons. It has instead become a case study in the failure to adapt, and new sensors cannot conceal the reality of antiquated engineering. On October 9th, the myth of the T-90M met the brutal truth of Ukrainian firepower. Artillery and hunter-killer anti-tank teams. They will continue to be dismantled. What happened near Shakove was not an isolated incident. It was a snapshot of a larger truth about this war. Russia's dependence on prestige weapons is a fatal flaw in the face of modern battle conditions. The T-90M's destruction in less than a day underscores a stark fact. The technological advantage Moscow once claimed has completely evaporated. The rhythm of Russia's supply lines has fractured. The tempo that once fed the front lines is now broken. Coordinated tactics can defeat even Russia's most advanced armor. The myth of the invincible T-90M died in the mud of Donetsk. The tempo that once fed the front lines is now broken. Coordinated tactics can defeat even Russia's most advanced armor. The myth of the invincible T-90M died in the mud of Donetsk. Russia's dependence on prestige weapons is a fatal flaw in the face of modern battle conditions. The T-90M's destruction in less than a day underscores a stark fact. Their Air Force or Marines will ever see it as a top-tier tank. On October 9th, Ukraine didn't just destroy an armored formation. It exposed a core weakness at the heart of Russia's military machine: the inability to innovate beyond its Soviet legacy. The so-called Invincible tanks lasted less than a day. In modern warfare, that fact says everything. Artillery batteries that once fired coordinated salvos of 12 volleys now struggled to deliver half that number. Logistical data revealed the cause. With the reinforcement package destroyed, the remaining batteries were forced to conserve ammunition. It exposed a core weakness at the heart of Russia's military machine: the inability to innovate beyond its Soviet legacy. The so-called Invincible tanks lasted less than a day. The advance slowed to a crawl, averaging 11 miles per hour, a fatal pace in modern warfare. Fuel convoys, expected before dawn, were nowhere in sight. They were bogged down on secondary routes, forced into detours that bled another 16 to 21 kilometers from their range. Each setback triggered another. A cascade of failures spread across the operational map like a virus through a defense system. The strain was palpable, even in the electronic spectrum. Intercept stations recorded the digital panic: 112 encrypted attempts to restore severed command links, where the normal baseline was 15. War analysis teams flagged a surge in command queries about the reliability of their weapons, especially foreign defense technology. A coded fear from soldiers who no longer trusted their tools for war. Through it all, the Shadow Vector system continued its silent work. Its projection was chillingly precise. Within 45 to 50 minutes, the enemy front would break. The disruptions would force 3 entire Russian sectors off the offensive. Their posture would shift to stabilization, their ability to maneuver their troops neutralized. This paralysis would spread along a 32-mile front. The Valley Strike did more than stop a convoy. It shattered the rhythm of an entire military offensive. It altered timing, broke their tempo, and exposed critical vulnerabilities in their warfare doctrine that were never meant to be seen. In Kyiv, military planners understood the new battlefield calculus. By sunrise, the valley was silent, but the consequences were still expanding. A new military update written in fire. Stranded convoys, fractured signals, an entire sector forced to reset. This global conflict was not being won by mass, but by timing and superior defense technology. This is the sharp edge of modern weapons. We deliver the military news, but your perspective is critical. Which moment defined this operation for you? Your insight shapes the next briefing.